Greetings of peace and welcome. My name is Anthea Alexander, and I'm joining you from Melbourne, Australia, which is getting a little bit warmer. There is sort of a hint of spring in the air. So that makes me joyful, and the wattle is out. And I always notice when the beautiful wattle or mimosa, as it's called in some other countries, when the wattle flowers are out, that usually means that winter is on its way out and spring is on its way in, which is always very lovely. So, joining you this evening with three of my esteemed and lovely colleagues and friends, and we meet most Friday nights when we're available, pending availability to really get together and have a bit of a chat about interesting topics, and it's based loosely under the theme of living consciously. We've been doing this for heading on to probably a good 18 months now, on and off, which it's really fabulous. And started off with two of us, and then gradually, we've attracted some more people, and sometimes people can't make it due to personal reasons. That's perfectly fine. We were just having a bit of a chat backstage before we had our call, and it's not about high pressure. It's not about having all the right answers and researching everything. It's really about sharing experience about topics of interest. And I think that I was just going to add to what you were saying before, Sanji. I think it's more probably for us than it is for perhaps other listeners. Like there may be people who watch the replays, and perhaps we watch the replays, but uh, it's really, I think, it's almost like a little social club or like a little dinner party without the dinner, I feel, or drinks without the wine that we do on a Friday night, which is like a bit of a release at the end of the week. I guess it's like a bit of a social club that you might have at your workplace. That's, yeah, definitely how I see it. It's always relaxing for me and thought-provoking, and I always love hearing people's points of view. So we welcome anybody. It is a sacred, safe space to discuss pretty much anything as long as it's discussed respectfully. And yes, you can disagree with what we say. That's perfectly fine, as long as it's respectful disagreement. But we welcome all points of view. That's the point of it all. Okay, so following on from last week we started discussing basically managing bullying, and we talked about what bullying is, what sort of settings that it occurs in, which is all throughout life, workplace, relationships, social sort of organizations. It occurs everywhere. It's part of human nature. Well, unfortunately, I won't even say unfortunately. It's just one of those things that there's dark and light in everything, and dark and shade, and the way that we can see the light is through the shade or the shadows or the darkness. So it's the duality of living. Now I'm getting very philosophical, and I've sort of lost a bit of track, but uh, of where I was. Bullying. So we're going to have a part two of bullying this evening. Not how to bully, but more about coping with bullies, solutions and strategies that we can use. So we're going to dive a little bit more deeply because we felt that with last week's discussion, there was still more to talk about. All right. So what I might do, I'll just talk a little bit more about myself. So I'm a coach and healer based in Melbourne, as I said. It's my birthday on Sunday, and I'm going to be turning 54. So 54 years young, and I've recently been to Bali, spent a week there, which was wonderful, and I've been learning more about neuro-linguistic programming, clinical hypnosis, as well as other different modalities that I am interested in adding to my portfolio as a coach and healer. I'm also fascinated by spirituality and sort of psychology and um, hidden realms, the unseen. I've always been fascinated by these sorts of topics since I was a little girl. And I think that I share that fascination with many of my colleagues here, many, all three of you, but anyway, with my colleagues here. I'll stop talking now. I'm going to hand it over to Rae. Stop talking for a bit. Hand it over to Rae. She can introduce herself and tell you a little bit about her experience and what she does with her time now, and perhaps touch on bullying before and then the others, colleagues will also introduce themselves and talk about their experience, Connie and Yogi Sanjiva, and then we can get stuck into more about managing bullies and solutions and coping strategies. So over to you, Rae.
Thanks, Anthea. Hi, everybody. How wonderful we're back together again. My name is Rae. I own a micro business in far north Queensland. I live in a place called Atherton on the Atherton Tablelands, which is just inland from Cairns up the mountain range. Yeah, it's a very beautiful place in the world. My background is most of my life I spent as a registered nurse in the government health system, which is pretty fascinating. Um, it, it was a career that's heavily dominated by women. So, yeah, so any workplace that has an imbalance of genders tends to lend itself to a bullying environment. So I've had so much experience with bullying and lots to talk about, I suppose. Once I started to look for an out from nursing, I I managed to fall in love with pottery by doing pottery as a work-life balance, pottery class for fun, and fell in love with clay. So what I do now is make pottery, but because of my background, I make things for the funeral industry. So cremation urns and angels and things like that, which has been a very natural progression for me because of my background and I'm very comfortable with the whole cycle of life and grief and people at their best, very best, and their very worst in awful situations. So that all kind of meshes together. But like Anthea, I've always had a fascination with the unseen realms and with death and dying, because you had to make sense of it. Because as a 17-year-old going into nursing, and I'd never seen a dead person in my life, and all of a sudden they're everywhere. So yeah, it's been a bit of a struggle trying to work out what's going on there and whether to be afraid of it or not. And I've decided not to be. So that was a big relief. Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm sitting at the moment. I'm very lucky. I love my work very much. I worked all day I worked till 4 p.m. today and then had to go, oh no, I have to go upstairs. I have to get out of the workshop. It's always very sad. So I have a job now that fills me up instead of drains me, which so I'm just grateful every day that I can live my life like that. So I'm very, very lucky. So I'm going to hand you over now to Connie to introduce herself. So Connie and I have been really good friends for a long time. And yeah, so she's great. And I'm really, really happy that she's joined us. Yeah, so over to you, Connie.
Thank you, Rae. And what you said, it's about the life and death, the good and the bad. That's just the patients, let alone all the all the bullying we got from matron down.
Mhm.
And when I became a charge nurse as well, I copped it even more, and you guys didn't see it. And I used to say to you all, if you make us stuff up, let me know, because I can handle it. But if you don't, you're on your own to face matron and not me. But my background is a nurse. I have now finished nursing, and I'm just enjoying retirement. At the moment, I'm just starting to write a book of the life that it's been a very varied life and very different to most people's lives. So I don't know whether I'll ever get to finish it, but there it is. So that's me. I think it's Sanji now, isn't it?
Oh, okay. Thank you, Connie. Hello, Anthea. Hello, Rae. Today we are missing two of our like participants, Georgie and Mike, but surely they'll join soon. And yeah, so I was talking to Mike also. Then I was thinking like, if I pressure him, is it bullying you? And like I push you to like you because the topic was that running in the mind. No? So then I was like, hey, come, like join this. But if I was like pushing it too much also, is it that like a bullying, like a pushing, like no, regardless of their no intentions or opinions or no what they carry. So had to be mindful there. So just a little bit about myself. I was a former monk. My name is Sanjeev. I was a former monk for a long time. And yeah, I have seen different states in like societies, and then what they come, people come with their problems, tell us what's happening, even very personal things, no? And it's all free, like, and then there's like all these people coming, and wherever you go, even you go and live close to a forest or in like a village close to a forest, sorry, even those people come and tell you problems, and no, so you have to find answers, these kind of things. But you can see like these levels of people going through difficulty, stress, no, even family wise or different social backgrounds, no, parents, children, no, in workplaces, the stress they are going through, no, hardships, and even society wise, it could be like religious wise or ethnic wise, no, like the gaps between ages, like even the parents or like elders telling like back in the day it was not like this and now people are like this, no? But then these people say the same thing to the next generation, no? And how these people go through these things and difficulties. So I would just suggest like if you can what like today see the solutions for bullying, no, how to overcome these kind of things. We talked about a bit, and then I would like to just ask you all like which is the state like this becomes a harassment, no? Bullying, like it starts like bullying and then it becomes like a nuisance and a harassment that it's like totally unbearable, no? Some people even take their own lives because of that. Really, it's too like, but we cannot accept bullying also, no? And where is the harassment and bullying? It becomes like a utter menace, right? Yeah. So even bullying itself, no? So I'll hand it over to Anthea, and we can dig into these kind of topics, and especially the solutions. I think in our age, like we can cope up with many things, but maybe especially people who are very young and all, no, like in even a work environment, no, they go through a lot of things, no, regarding bullying, harassment, these kind of things. So let's dive in, no, and see what comes up. Okay, over to you.
Thank you so much, Sanji. Thank you, Rae. Thank you, Connie. So just stepping back to last week's session, and so basically bullying, it's ongoing, it's deliberate, it's about power imbalance or misuse of power, and it's deliberate. It's repeated, and it can be verbal, physical, social, can be can be sexual harassment as well, sexual bullying, and it's intended to cause harm, physical, social, psychological, emotional, spiritual, you name it. So, we started talking about some tips and solutions. I'm just needing to excuse me. We started talking about some tips and solutions last week. And but before I start talking about that, I'm wanting to share a little bit of experience that I remembered through our conversation about bullying. So my my first, well, actually not my first job, but my first sort of career was in public health, environmental health. So I was actually a health inspector. So I used to go out to shops and restaurants, and so food businesses, and then like hairdressers and health premises. They were registered under the Health Act, and basically investigate complaints and do routine inspections. And I remember going along to like restaurants, and there would be like the owners of the restaurants or the proprietor would be quite a bit older. So I was in my 20s, and they were like maybe 50 or something like that, and they might have been of a different ethnicity, and they were like, who are you to be telling me what I need to do? You're just a woman, you're so young. They wouldn't say you're just a woman, but you're so young and I've got experience. And so yeah, that's a classic example of bullying. And yeah, and in so many workplaces, situations, we can see it all the time. Even I currently work part-time in a supermarket, and there's levels of bullying there. I can see it, and it's very basically the systems have to be really, really good for the supermarket to run. It's a large supermarket. It's a large corporation in Australia. So the staff, it's basically not, would you please do this? It's do that. And customers can have bullying behavior and harass us. And yeah, it's a big thing now. Also, I travel on public transport in to and from work, and there's big notices. There's like mobile phone numbers that you can text and report situations. If people are harassing you sexually or otherwise, you can just text it. So yeah, it's widespread everywhere we look. Some of the things we touched upon last week were Rae talked about the Celestine Prophecy, a book that she has read and got a lot out of, and perhaps she can touch a bit more upon that. Assertiveness is a way, I think, to deal with bullying. So different people have different personalities, and we have different coping mechanisms, I think, that we develop in different situations, perhaps in school or work situations, family situations, and depending on perhaps trauma that we might have experienced when we were younger. I know that I have tended to be very much a people pleaser. So that was how I learned to survive, because I had a father with a brain injury from a very severe work accident when he was about 40. So I learned how to keep the peace and try and please everybody. And that's very much something that comes up as a coping mechanism, sort of a default coping mechanism for me. But look, maybe it's a way of dealing with bullying, but it's not. I think being a bit more assertive perhaps is another way of dealing with bullying. We also talked about confrontation, and I'd love to hear the thoughts of the three of you about the difference between confrontation and conflict, because they're quite similar, but I think, yeah, I suppose confrontation is actually like speaking up and saying your piece and facing someone with something, whereas conflict is it could be physical conflict, it could be actually exchanging words or arguing, whereas confrontation may not be actual, like lead to an argument or a physical dispute. The other things that we talked about towards the end of our session last week, Sanjva mentioned that people aren't alone and to seek help if you are experiencing severe bullying that is really impacting the way that your life is functioning. So it's really important to talk to a trusted person or like we are talking, we've got each other to talk to. Perhaps you might talk, a bit more confidentially, one-to-one with somebody that you trust, or it could be a professional person or a person who Mike talks about, our colleague that's not available, unfortunately, to join us tonight, talks about like a priest or a rabbi or a imam or a person of faith, whether it's your faith or a different faith that you trust, to talk to them. Protecting our peace was something that Georgie really, she talks about it a lot. I've noticed it's a theme that she really sort of strongly identifies. That's a way of a great way for her to live her life. And in terms of bullying, yeah, it's really important, protecting your peace. And then we also talked a little bit about boundaries, and we did have an actual full conversation the week before last about boundaries. We talked about cyberbullying, which I find, well, it's not something that I grew up with. I mean, it's been something that I have been aware of since I started using information technology, which was probably about when I was about 20 onwards. And but it's definitely something that is of significance in our society today, our community, for all levels of people who are using social media and information, computers. However, thinking in terms of youth, it could be particularly more relevant to them. But I'd love to hear other people's thoughts. And yes, I was just wanting to touch upon what Sanji said as well just before, that bullying might start off and people might say, oh, we're just having a bit of fun, or it might start with pranks in workplaces. I know of actually, yeah. So this is an example, but it's not a nasty example, but as part of I did a placement with local government as part of my university degree, and they had this sort of little joke. It was just like a little joke that they used to play, because they used to have student environmental health officers or health inspectors pretty much every year. So they would ask them to like turn the lights on or off in a particular venue, because we used to run immunization sessions or vaccination sessions for kids and adults. And apparently there wasn't a light switch there, or it didn't work or something. So it was just like a little prank that they would play on each new person. But that's very harmless. But in some trades and other situations, and Sanji talked a bit last week about fraternities, and there are more serious sort of potentially physically harming, more than pranks, we'll say bullying and harassment. And something else that comes to mind for me is that has been a concern of mine for a long time, is also bachelor parties and hens parties that get out of control. So not necessarily just a group of friends having a bit of fun and a few drinks, or, playing some games, but where there's actual like serious serious incidents that may affect somebody's health, their physical well-being, and prevent them from maybe even getting to their wedding. So there are some things. So I've just touched upon those, but I would love to hear other people's thoughts. So I'll hand it over to you, Rae, and I'll love to hear some more of your stories about your experience with bullying. Over to you.
Thank you, Anthea. Oh gosh, I just thought of another 4 nights worth of things we could talk about from what you were saying. But I'll stick to the kind of brief little notey things that I've got in here. I talked last week about bullying being stealing, pardon me, another person's power. And if you think about it on an energetic level, we're taking your energy to add it to ours. So the converse of that is all bullies feel a lack of power. So that's why they feel like they've got to take yours, because there's something missing within them. And it's always something to remember when bullying is being pointed at you, is that they're not bullying you because they're stronger than you. They're bullying you because they can see you are stronger than them, and they're trying to bring you down to their level. It makes dealing with them a lot easier if you remember that perspective. So I talked about naming the behavior last week as well to stop it. In dealing with bullying, I think mostly in Australia we've got it backwards. So, for example, in schools, we talk about managing bullying in school is about rousing at the bullies. That, people just suspending the bullies, punishing the bullies. And I think that is completely the wrong way to look at it. I think we should be empowering the other people. Yeah, empowering, strengthening the people who are being bullied, whether that's affecting them or not. And usually it is. So they've had their power taken from them. Yeah. So it's all about building them up so that they can do what we were talking about last week and not let our power be taken away. Because the minute you stop a bully from taking your power, they get the pain that they were trying to push onto you, they get it back in their face and they actually feel it. So we feel nothing when we stop them, and they get it back. And I think we have a responsibility to make sure we don't pander to bullies, to make sure we do not let them take our power, that we do stand up to them, because that is the only way they are going to learn their lessons from it, right? And the other thing I wrote here is sometimes bullies, they don't even realise that they are bullying you. They think they're being assertive. I'll never forget, as a nurse educator, I did a workshop, a full day workshop on assertiveness. And the people who are problem children, who are either being bullied to the point of they're taking sick days to avoid the person giving them a hard time. So they would be sent to my workshop, and the perpetrators were sent as well, and sometimes in the same room. So and I'd go through my spiel and I'd say, you've got to take your own power, all the stuff I've said here. And the bullies would look at me thinking they were being bullied. They never, ever saw themselves as the perpetrators. They always thought they were either standing up for themselves because they feel so powerless, right? And no one ever teaches you on no one. You don't get much lessons on being assertive, right? And which was what I was trying to teach them, how to be. And in assertiveness, the definition of being assertive is that it's a win-win situation. You both win. You don't beat the other person. You get to a point where you make a compromise, or that both people see the other person's point of view, and therefore they both go, oh, I didn't realize I was doing that to you. That's assertiveness. It's just a most wonderful thing. And my son, my biological, I've got 3 kids. So yeah, Chloe is the eldest, and then Chris, they're 4 or 5 years apart, and the last one is mine, biologically mine. Yeah, he was born with assertiveness. He's the most amazing thing. And I remember trying to discipline this kid as a little 4-year-old. Nothing that worked on the other 2 ever worked with him. If I smacked him, he would smack me back. And then I'd smack him, and then he'd smack me, and it just wouldn't stop. And it's true, but I'd have to back down, because that's how I was brought up. If we were naughty, my mum would take off her thong and smack us round the bottom with the thong. And if we were really naughty, she'd get the wooden spoon. Hey, we were terrified of the wooden spoon. And she'd only hit you once and she'd make sure it stung. And that's all she'd have to do. But then I get this kid that doesn't work on. And so I watched Super Nanny, right? And she said, put him in the naughty corner. I'd have to put him there and he'd run off and go back, and I'd have to drag him back and put him 25 minutes the first time. Like, I was exhausted by the end. Yeah. And when he got older, I said, why did you do that, mate? Why didn't you just back down like every other kid? And he said to me, because I can't, because I have to. I have to fight you back. If you fight, so you get this power struggle. If I fought him, he fought me back, which is leading me. I've got a point. It's leading me to a point, which I've now lost, of course. What am I talking about? So yeah, so he felt, yeah, so we get a power struggle. So the only thing that worked on him once he was old enough to have a bit of reasoning, so from about 6 years old, the only thing that really worked is if I said, Loris, just do the right thing. And that moment I'd walk away, and something in him clicked, and he had to do whatever the right thing was, whether it was put his shoes away or get in the car because we had to go to school, or put his clothes on, or whatever the fight was about, and that worked on him. So my point to all that weird story is manipulation a form of bullying, right? Because that's very subtle. And I tell you what, I'm a master of that. That's how I got through nursing, was quietly manipulating all those bully charge nurses, understanding that I understood that they had the formal power, but I knew they weren't a strong person. Strong people don't have to bully you. You respect them and you'll do anything to earn their respect back. Yeah, but the weaker ones, they're the ones that would resort to nasty words or innuendo or sarcasm or all those other things. And yeah, so very different. So the main way nurses bully each other is by being passive aggressive, right? So that's a really weird. That's not assertive. It's I want to say mongrelly. It's a sneaky way of trying to get your own way, but trying to still be nice about it. And there were endless passive aggressive notes in our tea room, for example, and they'd say things like, "Oh, your mum's not here, so wash your own cup," but which is aggressive. And then on the bottom it would say, "Please," right? So that's a passive part. And there's a good one. I've just Googled one. There's a good one here about a cat. Here's a workplace smoko room thing on the wall that's got a picture of this little cute kitten, and it says, "Leaving dirty dishes in the sink triggers crushing depression in kittens." So yeah, passive aggressive, yeah. So that was the main. You got that 50 times a day in nursing. It notes and just yeah. Yeah, things like that. Very different. Like straight out bullies, it's a lot easier to recognize. So, and the other thing I wanted to say, Sandy was talking about harassment. Bullying and harassment goes together. So on our first week, Anthea read the definition of bullying, and it's putting people down on more than one occasion. So that's automatically harassment. So they're kind of the same thing. So accidentally bullying someone like I did to that poor pregnant nurse that I made cry because I had a go at her because she scrubbed her hands and then touched the curtain, which you're not allowed to do. And then she burst into tears, not in front of me, but yeah. So that's not technically bullying because I didn't say it to her 50 times. It was just a one thing. Yeah. So bullying is having to go at that same person over and over and over, and that's what then leads to grinding people down to the point where they can take their own life. Yeah, so they go together. But yeah, so you've got to be really careful, and naming behavior is it's harder when I was thinking it's harder when it's a passive aggressive kind of situation. What are you going to do with the smoko hut, the smoko room passive aggressive signs, like they're just awful. And so I took you, because I was a charge nurse like Connie as well. I took over Connie's ward for a whole year. Like I wasn't really, I was just acting for a whole year. But you take them down and just put, please wash your plates. That's all you need to say. You don't have to carry on with the dead kittens or depressed kittens or any of the rest of it. Just go. It's annoying, or a statement. It's annoying when there's dirty dishes in the sink or something like that. Yeah. What else? Oh yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one. What do I do? Let's go this way. Oh, this is a new spin, right? New spin on bullying. What do you do when it's your government that's bullying you? For example, in 2020, when everyone was strongly encouraged to take certain medicines, whether they wanted to or not, which I really, really didn't want Loris to do, my son, because he's immunocompromised. And I knew there were a lot of deadly side effects for young men, being cardiomyopathy, right? And I said to him, please don't, please don't. And he tried really hard not to, but he was worried that he would lose his job because he was just getting into the mining industry, and he was sure that they would add that to their requirements. And the other thing was that poor bugger was 22 years old and he couldn't go out. He couldn't socialise with young people and go to a bar unless he had that medical treatment that I'm not sure I should mention because I think YouTube videos don't like it, eh? Yeah, so what do you do when it's your government that's imposing these mandates on you that are infringing on your own God-given rights? That's a whole different ball game. So wow, I talk about top down. I might leave it there because otherwise I'll talk all night, and I'll bring up my other points when we come around again. Yeah. Connie, can you remember any stories from our nursing days?
Look, I was a bit older when I went into nursing, right? So I wasn't, one of the 16 or 18-year-olds. I think the first thing you do is you have very clear boundaries. And I've never been bullied, I must say. If they start, you just stop it straight away. It can be a look, or I don't know if you remember, a matron used to send us all these nurses who had troubles on the wards. We got them, right? Yeah. He was 6'6", you know who I'm talking about. And if you said something, it was just a mumble behind you. He was saying something to you. I don't know what he was trying to do. So one day I just said to him, look, I mightn't be as tall as you, but if you've got something to say, I'm ready to listen, and you need to say it to me like a man and not a little coward that you are. And basically that pulled him up. He actually lost his job afterwards, Rae. You know why. So, yeah, and it was also that other doctor too who was a nasty, nasty bully as well. And I used to have to get Rae to deal with him because I wouldn't bow to his pressure. No, I just wouldn't bow to his lordship, the way he did things. So I had very clear boundaries, and bullies might try once or twice, but they didn't get far because I just would not back down. And how I used to deal with them was you take a step forward in their face and you just look at them really intensely and say, what did you say? And let me tell you, they backpedal really fast. And that, it wasn't only nursing, it happens in a lot of places. So, yeah, basically I didn't have any particular bullies, or if they started, they were stopped pretty quickly. I think if you have your boundaries, very clear boundaries of what you're going to accept and what you're not, they don't get a second chance unless they're family. They just don't get a second chance, because if you don't stop them there and then, and as Rae said, I don't know whether they really do learn from their bullying behaviour, because they'll just go on to the next one. I've seen that happen too.
Yeah, I have too. I tell you, the other examples that I had in my life that I thought about as soon as we stopped talking to each other last week is when I was 21, I used to drive a truck on a construction site. So I was on the Burrup, which is in Western Australia near a town called Kularathne, where we were building a gas treatment plant for offshore gas was being pumped onto the mainland, and we were building all the big machinery to burn the I can't think of the word, bad stuff out of the gas, impurities out of the gas. And it was massive. And there were 4,000 men on that site and about 10 women. And I was one. And I was one of the few that was in a truck working in amongst all these men. Most of the other women were in the office. So there was me and there was a girl who was a dogman on a crane. So a dogman walks in front of the crane and tells it when to lower the bucket and all these hand signals. She was amazing. She was do this, do that, and the bucket would go up and down. Yeah, so her and I were on the same sort of side. And I used to get sexually harassed every day of my life. And I got really tough. It was awesome. I come out, I was 21 years old. I was like, take me on.
Good on you, Rae.
Yeah, no, that was brilliant. And then I went back nursing in Cairns Hospital, and an anaesthetist had a go at me, and I just treated him the same as a construction worker. And then I thought, what have I done? But it worked, it worked the same on him as some of the other blokes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And the other one, which I didn't mention, was when I left Loris's father, who was just awful. And that you have to say he's the worst bully I've ever had to deal with, because he stalked and harassed me non-stop for 7 years. So one of the things you've got to add, because he keyed the car and he stole Loris and wouldn't give him back. He was constantly texting all these horrific text messages, and I'd get 40 a day of these awful things. And I had a business at the time, so I'd have to look at the phone. You couldn't just turn it off. And horrible phone calls, and oh my God, that was just awful. And I'd forgotten about it, and then you blacks stirred it all up. But I thought I'd better bring it up, because part of how do you deal with bullies is, you know what, sometimes you need to get the police on board. Sometimes it's that bad that, yeah, so I've been to court. I gave myself an honorary law degree because I'd been to court so often. And in the end, I was just representing myself because just been there so many times. Yeah. Yeah. So just other facets of bullies. And then that passive aggressive stuff is a whole different ball game too. Hey, Connie?
Oh, absolutely. But, you
Yeah.
get right in their faces and just stop that behaviour immediately.
But didn't work on Loris's dad, did it? Because
No,
he was
we know that.
completely unreasonable. There was no reasoning with him at all.
He had a mental health problem, I'm sure, Rae.
Oh, he did. I ended up in the psych ward, and I kept saying that to the judge, and they were like, "Yeah, lady, that's what they all say." Like, oh,
yeah, not nice.
No, awful.
Is it Sanji's turn?
He's on the phone.
Is it? Oh,
He's got can't hear. Oh, he's messaging maybe because he's muted.
Oh,
I don't know.
oh, okay.
Keep talking. All right.
Okay.
Right, I've got heaps of notes. What else was I going to say? Yeah, the government stuff. Oh, I've got an answer. I've got an answer to the bullies that don't know they're bullying, or the ones that do realise they're bullying, and it's because of past trauma, or there's always a reason. Nobody behaves badly without a reason, because I believe most people are actually born pure and good and not aggressive. And I think the environment plays a lot into most people. I mean, there's occasionally a weird gene that gets in there, and I don't, yeah. But Loris's father's example. There's nothing wrong with his genes. Nothing wrong with his DNA. It was all his environment. He grew up in a very violent family where his mother was a poor me most of the time, and his father was an intimidator, very violent. And they both switched from poor me to intimidator, because those sort of people are usually married. An intimidator is married to someone and to a poor me, and an interrogator, which was my mum, which they're milder, but they still steal your energy by putting you down more subtly. And the opposite of that is an aloof, which was my dad, and their coping mechanism is to give you the cold shoulder, the silent treatment, that sort of stuff. Now I've lost the plot of why I was telling you that story. Oh, there's the cure, right? Okay, so I read that Celestine Prophecy book, right, and I realised I was actually aloof. I had no idea. I thought it was perfect. Not my problem, it's his problem. Those horrible ex-boyfriends, yeah, I was aloof. Holy mackerel. And luckily, yeah, poor me never worked in my family, so I didn't have to undo that behaviour, but I had to undo being aloof. But I have since found there's actually a plant medicine, which is a what do you call it? It's not a hallucinogen, psychedelic. It's a psychedelic plant medicine called ibogaine. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
It's amazing. It actually helps you because you go and you have a psychedelic trip which lasts 12 hours, the acuteness of it, and the effects then continue for 36 hours and then lessen off and it keeps working for several weeks, and it helps the brain repair the neural pathways, and it undoes, it undoes the traumatic events. And you can look at it like that, or you can say that it allows you to see the big picture of what's happened to you and therefore understand it and be able to let it go. But it's a documented cure, for, it would have helped your dad, Anthea. Like, it helps with brain injuries. It's magnificent for PTSD in soldiers. Like, one treatment and their PTSD is gone. And it's particularly spectacular for people with addictions, because addictions are always covering something. They're always covering a trauma. So alcoholics, heroin addicts, coke addicts, every sort of addict you can think of, do one ibogaine treatment, and their desire for alcohol, nicotine, heroin is gone. They kind of wake up 2 days later, trying to undo really their own horrific behavior. Amazing thing, just incredible. Yeah.
Sounds interesting.
Oh my
Okay.
God. I want to have a go. Yeah. It has to be done under medical supervision because it has some cardiac symptoms side can do. If you've got any sort of cardiac problem, it can trigger arrhythmias. So you've got to be monitored full time. And they seem to start giving them the drug at like 8 o'clock at night and then let people trip all night, even though they don't sleep. I think that's weird, but anyway, they do. That's how they do it. Yeah. And there's a clinic in Brisbane.
Oh, wow.
I thought it would be illegal in Australia for sure, but no. They had a clinic in Cairns, but it's not apparently not open anymore, but there's one in Brisbane. So I really want to look into that. Just that has resurfaced to just undo things like that. Yeah, because that shut me down. Like, I haven't been able to look a man in the eye for 17 years. So, there's a lot of unhealed stuff there. Yeah, amazing. I want to go.
Oh, with you.
And Sanjva, I'm all for the shortcut.
Oh, it's right. Sorry, yeah, we had a power cut here.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, and then disappeared. Then that's why I try to call through the other phone. You don't hear a call acting or anything like that, right? Ah, okay, good.
Yep.
Yeah, so
no, we thought you'd just looking at YouTube.
it disappears. I cannot unmute myself. You need the
Oh,
cursor and then there. That's very ironic. So I feel like that was like this organized religion and things. There is bullying, and they try to use some method or another uh, uh, to our group, or this is what you know. I think it's because it's the human nature or the like each individual. But I think for bullying, it's like kicking a person who had already fall down. No, if you are in a, it says you don't kick a person who's already fallen. No, you wait till they get up or something. You give them a chance. No, but this is you have to be really nasty, and you know this person is in a difficult state, but yet you want to, and the sense of joy have done, and you back in the day, like that's why the people keep doing it, no? Because they feel a sense of happiness, or like wicked kind of happiness to that, and the mind feels actually like nasty at that time, no? You really want to like do some kind of hurting or some kind of inflict some pain in some other whichever way possible. It could be revenge based even, no? Like Ray said. Uh, so how to say? Uh, there are things like the signs like somebody's being bullied. For example, like anxiety, depression, sadness, crying, instability, fear or mood swings, loss of confidence, uh, and we see them their behavioral like signs like they don't want to go to work or school maybe or attend something, isolation or the decline of performance, no, and uh, frequent excuses maybe like to avoid that facing those situations, no, and eating habits, sleeping habits, these can change. uh, Yeah, or you can see like physical markings also, no, in their body, like injuries or these kind of things. So, uh, missing belongings or like frequent headaches, stomach aches, fatigue. So, there are effects of bullying, no, like fear, shame, guilt, anger, loneliness, hopelessness, constant stress. There are psychological effects like anxiety disorders, depression, uh, panic attacks, post trauma, stress symptoms, low self esteem, and physical effects, no, like headache, sleep problems, digestive issues, muscle tensions, increase of blood pressure, low immune system, social effects, difficulty in making friends, social withdrawal, fear of groups, academic effects like poor concentration, falling in grades, school avoidance, high dropout risk. There are so many workplace effects, reduced productivity, burnout, uh, job changes, career setbacks. So there are effects on the bully also, actually, to be honest. But it's not a positive thing, no, it's a negative thing. Uh, they have like poor emotional regulation, difficulty maintaining healthy relationships, aggressive behavior patterns, greater risk of how to say like disciplinary or legal consequences, like problem in empathy and conflict. Even bystanders have, no, like people who seeing this, like fear of guilt of not helping the other, being fearful, accepting bullying as normal, and experiencing stress and anxiety, uh, feel the pressure of some are pressure to join it even, no, they are considered as weak, no, why didn't you do something or to be in that group or something like that. So, uh, like Ray also mentioned, I saw a video recently. Somebody had collected some clips. So back in the day when everybody needed this vaccination, we don't have to mention names or anything. They had just put these news bulletins and all these popular people talking, and they were telling like these unvaccinated people are the problem. You are the problem. No, you. It was like again and again and again and again and again. Now we see it's a total opposite story. No, people are getting sick with that and even passed away. But the pressure they put, uh, as these people of specific organizations, even politicians, no, just you should see those. This person had collected the clips, and they were just like pouring it on as if the people who don't get vaccinated and all, they are the cause of all this. Uh, and even like really seriously, they were telling. So there are things like which goes beyond our reach, and we cannot do much about it also. So I feel from small days I used to feel the energy when somebody reaches, but in small days I would just shrink. Then when I was growing up, I would try to confront it. But nowadays I would feel the energy, but I would not mind it. No, if it's too much, I would say, but you can feel, no, when a person comes and their energy is like sometimes some people come, it's like you're on the road and a truck is coming on you. They want to put their sense. Eh? But now we can just say like it's like a joke, no? Like when people are trying to do these kind of things. So let's see, like things if we come up with more things we can counter bullying because it's definitely damaging these people who are bullied in every aspect, no, mentally, physically, all you name it. And now it's easy, but that doesn't mean like even children they have to be like sugar coated, like glass babies. In a bit of engagement like makes them stronger, right? Not like chatter like, but now we see like like even young children they stressed out with little things even. For example, even if you don't say the gender of, I get really offended. But how do you know? No, if they don't tell us, right? And then they go on internet or TikTok or some platform, and then they like cry about it. Uh, so there should be some kind of engagement, and then kind of like uh, as children or something, not to get because it can easily fall into depression, no? Anxiety, depression, and then for a little thing like they can try to say seek a way out of it. So in a way, there is like facing these kind of things also, and facing life situations make a person stronger. Even a child makes stronger. Even if they play, and even within the animals you see, like play fighting and all. Even the cats and the puppies and all, they do this, kittens and puppies. It makes their muscles stronger and then, no. But the overpowering and then going over limit is the problem. Uh, so maybe we can see this point. We can go one turn, maybe like how to countermeasures and do things about it. Okay, I'll just keep the other profile intact for now if we lose electricity, and I'll hand it over to Anthea.
Okay, thanks for that, Sanji. So what I'm hearing from you is, and feel free to correct me, is really it's about sort of living a life where you develop resilience. So from a young age, so that we are resilient physically, resilient emotionally, resilient mentally, and that way we're almost like an elastic band, so people can stretch us or we can become stretched by a challenge, but then we can bounce back to our original shape. Whereas if people aren't challenged and they're like protected like in a plastic bubble, and they don't have any knocks or they don't have any sort of emotional challenges, then there's sort of no growth. And so that's what I believe that you're saying, Sanji. So what I'm thinking is perhaps for our one of our next sessions, we could talk about how to live a resilient life throughout the stages from being a child, teens, adult, and getting into the mature aged years where we become very wise uh, or wiser, and we have learned from our experience. So that's something that, yeah, I would like to put out there for sort of discussion, about how to live resiliently and dealing with challenges and allowing ourselves to grow from them and not, not be shattered by them.
My final thought here, it ties in with resilience a bit to make is Australians are pretty resilient, and I'll tell you why. It's because we bully people that we love. We do it. We're horrific. We say the most horrendous things to the people that we love the most. Like your best mate walks into the room 10 minutes late to a party, and you go, "Oh, look what the cat dragged in," and we do it with love, and everybody laughs, and it's all fine. But we take it. It's just a fine art. It's just the put down, and you do it harder the more you love someone, and they take it really well. It doesn't make them depressed or sad. They know where you're coming from. Everybody's got a very fitting nickname, yeah, which is all part of it. The more insulting the nickname, the better. Everyone earns their nickname because of what their name is. Like redheads are always called blue. Yeah. We nicknamed all our midwifery teachers, didn't we, Connie?
We sure
Maybe
did.
that wasn't quite so nice. We didn't do it to their face. But yeah, so we do it to our mates. We do it all the time. So yeah, it makes it, I think, easier to cut tough. We're really resilient. And then the other thing we do is we band together. Like I can call you my best mate can I say dickhead? Yeah. I might call my best mate a dickhead, but God help you if some stranger does it. And hey, the whole game then turns on the stranger. We can do it. You have not earned the right. You are not part of the clique yet. Yeah. So just a whole different way of looking at bullying. What do you reckon, Connie?
Oh, I agree. I think that's very true. I think, I survived the nuns teaching me from year one. If anyone can survive those horrible, horrible people, you either die or you survive, because they showed no mercy, and they were called the Sisters of Mercy. And when I found out, I fell about laughing because it was so untrue. But yeah, that's sort of the beginning. If anyone who survived the nuns teaching them, and boarding schools, I've heard a few girls talk about that. Yeah, pretty tough from year one, year five, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Georgie had to deal with that as well. She was in boarding school from a
Oh,
tiny baby, like 5 years old. Oh gosh,
no,
just
that's cruel.
amazing.
That's so
Yeah,
cruel.
my
Yeah.
other points are all about resilience that I was going to say. I don't know if I want to say it now or not. Resilience is all about, or dealing with bullies is all about knowing who you really are, knowing your true worth. I think that's what got Loris through his awful childhood, and he will tell you was awful. Was I always when he was naughty, I never said you're naughty. I always named the behavior. Doing that was naughty, not that he was naughty. Yeah, I think that really helped. And I constantly told him how amazing he was, and how handsome, and how and how clever. And he never believed me. He still doesn't believe me how clever he is. He's got a brain on him, but yeah, he doesn't use it academically, but he certainly does use it as far as being assertive and dealing with people. Yeah, it's all about knowing they can't touch you if you know your own worth. Does that make sense?
Too true, Rae. That's
Mm.
exactly right.
Yeah.
And what anyone thinks of you is their business, not yours.
Yeah, my auntie always used to say that. They're
Yeah,
talking about
yeah.
me, they're not talking about somebody else. And I scratch my head, what is she talking about? Yeah, and it's really got nothing to do with you. Other people's judgments of you say everything about them and nothing
That's
about you.
right.
But
That's
I
right.
use that as a learning thing. When I look at a girl, somebody downtown, and I start to think, oh, what did she wear that for? Then I think, oh my goodness, that's because you wear stuff like that, right? It's always a mirror. It's always a reflection of what's going on with you. And when I'm really peaceful with myself, I just see the beauty in everybody else. Yeah, when I start to see things that annoy me, I know that's a me thing, not a them thing. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Um, oh, Sanji, talking about animals wrestling and fighting each other and dominating each other. A really good example of that is wolf packs, or dogs, puppies. So in a wolf pack, everyone the pack leader is not always the same. It depends on what they are doing, whether they're hunting, whether they are like guarding the pack while the mums and little puppies sleep. The other dogs someone will be on guard duty. um, Different types of hunting techniques. The one that runs really fast, that can get in front of the prey and turn it back to the rest of the pack, that can all be a different dog. And they figure out who's the fastest, who's the strongest, who's the smartest by their play fighting and dominance. So they do it in different situations. And I think people do that as well. Because if you watch good, effective teams, there'll be a different person will step up for different tasks. A hockey team, for example, I used to be a really fast runner, so they put me on the wing because I just belt down but I couldn't hit a ball very hard. I never took the free hits, which is what the halfbacks did, right? So if I won a penalty by by pushing the ball into somebody's foot, that'd be a penalty. I'd always leave the ball, but so a halfback would come down and they would hit it really hard, because I actually couldn't do that. But I could run like heck to an intercept, catch the ball and just push it back into the main pack. Yeah, I think there's a real strong role for that play fighting, that bullying sort of behavior. I think it's just been a bit distorted by the power hungriness. Yeah, because I always think of animals as being pretty pure. It's all about survival, and they're not doing it to put someone else down. They're doing it to see what they're made of, which is important. But yeah, wolf pack, different dog will lead in different situations. So I think we should be doing that too.
Good.
Do you have some final comments, closing comments, Sanji?
Yeah, there are some facts I would like to share. It should take a bit to please bear with me. Yeah, so I had this note. So like you all mentioned, you all mentioned many points of this. I'll just go through it. So it might help somebody at some point, no? So we like kind of like gathered. So as a response for bullying, we can stay calm as much as possible, like you all mentioned, and then avoid responding with violence, no, if possible, unless it's necessary to like defend yourself, no, and clearly state the behavior is not acceptable, and if it's not safe to do so, no, and walk away without escalating the situations when, if possible. Keep records of repeated incidents, no, especially like in workplaces or online bullying. We have to have proof. Block and report abusive online accounts. Tell a trusted adult, like we mentioned, manager, teacher, relevant authority. Seek support from friends, family, or even now we counselors. No, there are counselors and therapists, no, for these kind of things. And to prevent bullying, by promoting respect, empathy, inclusion, emotional intelligence, conflict of resolution skills, clear rules of accountability, safe ways to report concerns, positive leadership, healthy communication. And there's a process of recovering after bullying, no? Like it's not easy because it's damaging, no? So talking with trusted people, rebuilding confidence through activities you might enjoy, practicing stress management techniques, such as even like your breathing exercises, comes to meditation also, setting healthy boundaries like we mentioned, no? So I don't know, meditation is like the tick on like a flea on body, like it always comes there, no? So the cat has it, the dog has it, the zebra has it, like the lion has the and there was a funny story, like there was this kid who used to always write about the flea. And then when the teacher asked, write about your dog, so it said like the child said, if it had a flea in it, it would be, and he would write about the flea, no? Write about your cat. And then your father or mother, what if the flea jumped on my mother or father, and he would write about the flea. Then finally the teacher got sick of it and said, like, you write about a fish. And then he said, like, just in case the flea jumped on the fish. I thought it was so yeah, like setting healthy boundaries, like we mentioned, challenging negative beliefs and development of beliefs that develop like anti-bullying, no, like strong positive things, seeking professional and mental support. And I think like we need to generate things like compassion, empathy. So it seems like in the end of the line, what we carry is what we put out. It could be a child, it could be an adult. And say like if this place is full of trash and somebody comes knocking on the door or the window and say, please give me something, I'll have only trash to give, right? That is what it is, no? I'm sorry, like there's no food or no nothing valuable to give. I can give you the trash, even if you come from the front door or the window or the back door, no? That's what I have because I fill the place with trash, no? But if I start filling it with good things, even if the garbage collector comes, I say, sorry, I don't have, no, like, would you like some food or water or something, no? That's all I have to give you, no? If you really want something, no? So I think it depends on that, and we should not try to be bothered by the other person's trash. Let them handle it on their own, no? At first, we took it personally and then it affected us and all that, but it comes to a stage you cannot be bothered by it even anymore. And then the bullying and the harassment ends, right? When you face it, as well as like when you have big no to it, no? Oh, that is your problem. You face it. In spiritual aspects also, each one at some point, like they have to take responsibility, accountability of their own belongings. Then that's what separation, and that doesn't rectify them spilling it out on others. And as personally, like we have to know, like uh, we try to cleanse ourselves in whichever way possible, and then we should not drag in the other person's trash in, no? Then we cannot be kind of like touched by that, even if it's a case of harassment or bullying, and we should use the proper methods, like, and even sometimes even just avoidance, no? Because it's just waste of time, and we can tell it in a mature way, no? To let them know, like, it's not right. So even in places of work, it's so silly, like I remember the last place I was working, there were some people of the staff, and for no reason, they just want to show how high and mighty they are, right? It could be the owners or just the person working in the kitchen. And when you go there, they just try to put some kind of authority, like the portion of the food, or like, oh, you don't have to come so in, or something like that. But it's crazy, and then you just laugh about it and know how this person is. That's how it is, no? And some people, they just come like and brag, or like try to poke and see what. But it's kind of like end of the day, it's like a joke, no? They are showing how to say, like, in a way, how naked they are, right? Uh, they are showing off their own nakedness, no? So in a way, like, we should have empathy towards them also. No. Okay, then I'll hand it over to Anthea, and can have more nice discussions like this again, no?
All right, well, that's fantastic. I just wanted to add one more thing, is that make sure that you surround yourself with like-minded, positive people like we're doing tonight, and join our conversations or listen to our replays and listen to wholesome materials, because that's as also what Sanji's talking about is absorbing wholesome things and putting good things into our mind and our bodies, like eating nourishing food and having nourishing relationships. So all of these things are protective, and they can really help us when we're going through challenges. We can be more resilient and more able to face these things, which inevitably happen because life is full of trials and tests. So everybody has them. It's part of being human. So that's, it's part of it all. Okay, so that was a wonderful discussion. Thank you so much, Sanji, Rae, and Connie, and Sanji number two, because we've got two Sanjis. And I look very much forward to our next discussion, whether that's talking about resilience or whether we decide to talk about something else. That's perfectly fine. But thank you so much, all of you, for your time, your effort, your compassion, vulnerability, sharing your experiences. It's really, really valuable. So thank you so much for being the beautiful people that you are. So until next time, take care and thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Have a good night. Have a good rest.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good
Take
night.
care.